Welcome to Franklin County Home Health Agency's Where the Heart Is. I'm your host, Courtney Bates. Franklin County Home Health Agency offers a full range of high-quality home health care, hospice, and support services for people of all ages. Through this monthly show, we bring you information about the agency's programs and services, as well as tips to keep you and your loved ones safe and healthy at home. Starting March 6th, Franklin County Home Health Agency will begin its hospice volunteer training. This 8-session program prepares volunteers for their work with patients and their families at the end of life. Recently, Hospice Volunteer Coordinator Nancy DeLude and I sat down with the daughter of a former hospice patient of ours to discuss the care and support she and her mother received from our volunteers. She shared her story with us and describes the tremendous care and support she received from the hospice volunteers. She also shared her plans to pay it forward and become a hospice volunteer herself to help other local families in need.
Hi, Melody. It's good to see you. I'd like you to meet Courtney Bates.
Hi, Melody.
I've told her so much about you
Nice to meet you.
and about your mother, Bernice, and about having services with the agency. And I just want to thank you for coming in and sharing your hospice experience.
My pleasure. I'm glad I can help.
With us.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Courtney, how about if you let Melody know what you do here at the agency?
Yeah, so I do community relations. So I kind of help spread the message of the agency and what we do and the services we provide to patients. So,
Great.
yeah, thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
So we really appreciate you coming in and talking about hospice and how you came to choose hospice services and what that's meant for you and how it helped you and your mom and how it continues to help you in your time of bereavement. So Melody, looking to the future, as we know, life does go on even when we are grieving and our loved one has died. I know you and I have talked a little bit since Mom has died about some goals for the future and building new traditions and starting new things, building new houses, reintegrating into the community. Sometimes our hospice families are looking for ways to give back to the community for all of the support that they received. You and I talked briefly about the possibility of you becoming a hospice volunteer in the future. Tell me about that. What made you think about that?
Just because I've seen all the volunteers and I was very impressed, and I would like to give back because they helped me so much. So I'm very interested in doing that.
Well, great. Knowing that we need to take our time to do our grieving, and then when we're ready, hospice is going to be here, and we have a training 2 to 3 times a year, and your heart will tell you when it's time, and then we'll be in touch anyway, and then you can decide if you'd like to do that. And very often, many of our volunteers have come from a family member or a friend that have had hospice services, and they just were so touched by the whole experience, whether it was the staff member, maybe they go on to become a hospice nurse or an LNA, or they want to be a volunteer for our agency.
It's kind of like paying it forward.
That's
next
exactly.
family.
That's exactly how I feel
Absolutely.
about it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's great.
So, Courtney, do you have other questions that maybe you have always thought about hospice and volunteering and things like that?
How long have you lived in Franklin County?
All my life.
And do you work in Franklin County as well?
I'm retired now.
But prior to that, you worked in
Yes.
Franklin County?
Yes.
And what was your profession?
I'm a registered nurse. Critical care.
And did your having that medical background, did that make it harder or easier to care for your
I
mother?
think it was much easier. I don't know if I would have been able to do what I did.
So you were able to give her proper care and attention. And how long were you a caregiver for your mother?
She was over at my house for about 5 years.
And did you have any other help? Or was it just
I
you?
had some. No, I hired some people while I was working, but when I retired to take care of my mother, then I didn't have the finances, as much financial.
So then you kind of took that over as...
Yeah. But I had some friends that would help.
So tell us about your mom.
Oh, she was a great person. She loved to make people laugh, and everybody loved her. Every time I meet somebody, oh, she was so much fun. It was so much fun to work with,
And she grew up in Franklin County too, so everybody knew who she was, and
that's right.
I know you told me she had a great sense of humor.
Yeah, off the wall type of personality.
So she was well known in the community?
I think so. A lot of people know her.
Oh, that's great. So what did you know about hospice before coming on to the services?
One of my friends that actually lived in Florida mentioned hospice to me, that I could probably, my mother would qualify for hospice, but I didn't really believe that, I didn't realize she could get it as soon as she did. And and then I heard about it from home health too.
Okay, so they shared that information with you, and then you thought about it, and
Also the office of the agent.
okay,
They
age well.
mentioned, yes.
They had some information on
Yeah,
it.
yes.
Well, that's
I
good.
think,
So,
and she used to go to Care Partners too, and they might have mentioned gave me some information about it as well.
so you said you cared for her for about 5 years at home. So
Yeah.
how far along in her disease progression was she? How many years had it been before you decided to seek out hospice and get more information?
Well, I'd say it was about 3.5 years. That she wasn't too bad when she first moved over. She kept on falling, and that's why I decided to bring her over to the house. So, and she was pretty. She knew where to go to the bathroom, and that probably 3.5 years. She got really agitated, and then calmed down, and then I got hospice. So I think I had hospice for about a little over a year.
Was it hard for you to accept that help?
I wanted to do everything.
Yeah.
I didn't want to take anybody's help. But I started getting really tired,
Yeah.
and I had to let go.
Absolutely. And you were very active in the community before
Yes.
all of this, right? So, looking back now, can you see when you started to really care for her and become her primary caregiver, how that was a shift in your life? What happened then with your life as mom is getting sicker?
I couldn't do anything. My focus was on her, and I had to depend on people, so I could, because since I was all by myself, I had to depend on others to relieve me, and the hospice was a big help. The volunteers, all the staff, oh my goodness, I don't know what I would have done without them. I was literally homebound.
That's
They're
huge.
Great people. Oh my goodness.
When we have our independence, we don't realize what we have, and then to see a loved one lose their independence, and then to see us lose our independence can be overwhelming at times.
Yeah, it was, but hospice, the people really helped a lot, relieve my anxiety, and helped, even and nurses' aides, they were available to help with the baths, the volunteers, all the staff.
Yeah, talking on the phone and
Oh my goodness.
yep. We talked very often.
Yeah,
at least every week.
You were a big help.
We
Oh my
talked a
goodness.
lot. Yeah.
Even afterwards.
Yes. So part of our hospice is to provide bereavement support to families for up to 13 months
Yeah, it's very helpful.
after. And some folks utilize that a lot, some very little, and the majority of the folks are in between. But it's really nice because in the beginning, everybody, they kind of cluster around you and support you, and then they have to go back to their own lives. But it's nice to know that you can still reach out to us and we can reach out to you. And
Yeah, I almost felt like you're one of my friends. That's, really touched my heart.
oh, thank you. Well, you really touched my heart too.
Everybody's so wonderful.
It's that relationship
Yeah.
building, isn't it? Wow. And
So tell us a little bit more about the hospice volunteers that came and visited you guys, and the services that they offered you?
Well, I like the volunteers, and they were all really nice. They helpful. They would sit and hold my mother's hand, and try to, and she'd be more peaceful, and they would listen to me talk. They didn't just ask about how my mother was. They asked about
You.
what I was doing, and that meant a lot.
Yeah, that's huge.
The nurses, Nancy, nurses' aides, social workers, physical therapists. Everybody was great. They all helped. What a great team.
So, if you don't mind sharing, what was your mom's disease, her primary disease?
Alzheimer's.
So, for those that don't know what end-stage Alzheimer's would be, in kind of a nutshell, what happened with her at
She was always a very happy person, never yelled. After a while, she couldn't walk. I mean, she was very restless there. I had to follow her with her walker, constantly going around in a circle. And then she got bedridden. I turned her every 2 hours, 24/7, up all night long. And she finally got peaceful, I think, toward the end of the year.
And so
When you guys stepped in,
so
because
part
I
of-
wasn't going to have anybody be hit and stuff.
So part of the hospice program is the pain and symptom management too, and being able to have that nurse to check in with all the
Right.
time and adjust the medication if
Right.
necessary. Even the medical director, Dr. Schulten, coming and coming
yeah,
out and
she
visiting
was
once in a
good.
while, and it is really good too. So when the volunteers would go, Mom would be primarily asleep,
Exactly.
and they would be keeping her safe and watching out for her. And so what are some of the things that you were able to do when they would come?
I was able to go and get my groceries. I went out and exercise, bike ride. I was more active in the community, doing some of my volunteer work and the committees I was involved in. Otherwise, I was just homebound. They weren't there. I want to be able to do it.
And then they were there to talk to as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. Sometimes I would just sit there and talk to some of the volunteers. I didn't even leave. It felt good. That helped relieve my anxiety.
I was going to say, it must have
Uh-huh.
kind of helped with your anxiety and relieved your stress.
And to be able to talk about it, and over a year.
I just felt very comfortable with everybody.
Yeah. And that was hard at first to do that. Maybe it would be like a once in a while visit, and then as it progressed, it would be.
Then I was asking, well, Nancy, could you arrange my schedule so I could do this? Nancy, could you do that for me? You were very flexible.
Well, the volunteers were very flexible.
Yeah, everybody,
and,
the whole group.
Yeah.
To do that.
And they could see how much it meant for you to be able to get out and do those things that you had to stop doing. So do you feel that, although Mom was on services for a long time, and that always, when is it going to be? How much longer will it be? Having all of that support, do you feel like it helped prepare you a little bit better for not to be so afraid of the end, or
I think it helped.
a little bit to do that? And then, because sometimes when people do become the primary and the only caregiver, and they give up everything in their lives, if they don't have access to the services, or they don't know about them, they become so isolated that when the death comes, whether it's 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years down the road, they feel so disconnected from their community, their support system, that the death is so much more difficult. Do you feel that because you were able to get back and reintegrate into the community before Mom died, has that helped your bereavement process?
I think so. Yeah, it was a big help. It was a lot of hard work, but I'd do it all over again, taking care of my mother.
Our hospice volunteers receive an initial 8-session training and ongoing in-service training to prepare them for their work with families at the end of life. The next volunteer training will begin on March 6th at 5 p.m. For more information about becoming a volunteer, contact Nancy DeLude at 393-6721. Franklin County Home Health Agency thanks all their volunteers for their work caring for hospice clients and their families, as well as providing valuable administrative work for the program. Thank you for joining us today, and be well.